100%ing Tears of the Kingdom is one monumental task taking well over 100 hours to accomplish, and while there are guides out there for the trickier marks of completion such as Korok seeds and Hudson signs, there is one marker of completion that often goes overlooked which leads to a lot of headaches, and that is the landmarks. You know, little locations that pop up and discover new areas or special shops after doing quests. These are one of the things to look for when going for 100% on the map screen. Others includes Koroks, shrines, light routes, etc. Every discovery accounts for 0.04% of map completion. Yeah, this is a big game. And that's what this video aims to do, focus on these easily missed landmarks, so hopefully those who are going for 100% map completion will have an easier time accomplishing this task. First thing to get started with is the assumptions. Mostly you have done all caves and wells, side quests or in the process, and all the Koroks. And while I do say this, I do want to give special shoutouts to the Ancient Altar Ruins, which has 12 entrances and all those entrances count. However, to save yourself some headaches, you can just go down one of the wrong ones and go over the sand pits where the other caves are, that'll drop you off, and the cave entrance will register that way. A couple other cave entrances includes North Hyrule Plain Cave and Lake Verona Cave for having two entrances, one being a small hole and on top of another on the map. There is another pair of caves in Tarrytown construction site near the well. One final cave I do want to mention which happened to me is Eventide Isle, in which there is a cave on the backside, and for some reason it didn't register me entering the cave, even though I already got the shrine and Bubble Frog, so yeah, so be careful with that. As for chasms, make sure you go into them so a gear appears on the map. Look for the big purple blobs on the map, but a few more secret ones includes the one under Zora's domain behind a waterfall, and under Rito's village, though both of them are a part of a side quest. There is another hidden chasm near the prison in central Hyrule. Going region by region of some commonly missed locations, starting with Tibur we have the secret hot springs, Sherfin, Sternida, and Gofflums. You might have seen these already, but they do exist. Look for the little waters on the map. The flight range is also in Tears of the Kingdom despite having little purpose besides the minigame and side quests taking you there. Look out for lodges on the mountain. Some spot is also a location in the game that takes you during a side quest, the Duchess who disappeared. And lastly, in the mountains, we have the Tabantha Village ruins. Ruins are pretty common to be missed, so keep an eye out for them. As for the Rito region, the first is Komali Bridge south of Rito Village, and Dragonbone Mire to the west. Both have Korok, so you might already have them. Lastly is the ancient columns to check out, assuming you don't get roasted getting there. Moving on to the Tabantha Great Bridge, there is a location under the bridge, Ultra Ball Hall Checkup. Probably one of the more obscure locations in the game, plus it does overlap, so it might be harder to see on a map. Starting western and northern Hyrule, we have a couple more ruins. First is the ancient lab ruins located near the Serene Stable, and Maricha Exchange ruins to the north of the tower as well. And that one does have a well, so you might have already got that one. Next is something I had troubles with, Lost Woods. In Tears of the Kingdom, you never technically have to step foot in Lost Woods since there's an alternative way to get into Korok Forest. But for map completion, you have to go into the normal Lost Woods, despite not being able to get anywhere. And from there, head south to pick up Minshi Woods, Military Training Camp, and Raru Settlement Ruins. The next major region is Eldin. First location is a southern mine, now desolate with the lava receded. In Goron City, don't forget the bridge on top of the city, and the bridge of Eldin near the volcano. You just don't have to worry about it vanishing on you. Next up is the Death Mountain west side, along the railcarts to the north of the Eldin Bridge, and Shadow Hamlet Ruins on the back side, in which it does have its own well, so you might already have that one. On the outskirts of Eldin, we have the Eldin Skeleton to the north, and the Maw of Death Mountain to the south entrance. Next region is Akkala, and oh boy, there are a lot of locations. Starting up with the Citadel Ruins, Akkala Citadel has 4 nearby. You have the Citadel at the top, Bridge Ruins along the way, Parade Grounds at the bottom of the cliff, and you have a little bridge to the southeast Akkala Span, which is a part of another side quest. Following the trail, we have a 3-fer, West Akkala Bridge, Central Akkala Bridge, and East Akkala Bridge. Moving on to Tarrytown, there are a few additional side quests here. You get Link's House, Monster Gallery as a part of Madison's independent side quest chain, and the Tarrytown Racetrack as part of Tarrytown Race is on quest chains. Last 2 locations are in Deep Akkala. First is the Spring of Power and Rock Woods further to the north, always has been and always will be locations. Oh yeah, and visit the Horse God and give them an Endura Carrot. Moving on south, our next stop is the Zora Domain region. Starting in the wetlands, we have the more Garrison ruins near the Krenel Peak. That one has a well, so you might already have that one. Another ruins on the sandbar is Gopanga Island ruins, which also has a well. Follow the path along Zora's River and you'll discover a few bridges such as Inoga Bridge, Oran Bridge, Ludo's Crossing, and Great Sora Bridge. Not for sure on Mikau Lake and Lulu Lake since they are en route to Mipha's court, but they do exist. And Shatterback Point too, I guess. From the south of there is Tarn Point in the peninsula, and I guess Horn Lagoon with a cave located within it. Further on to the south is the Necluda/Lunaria region. North of Kakariko, there are a few along the promenade, mostly Lunaria Road having a west gate and an east gate. The west gate was one of the last locations for me, and it can be easily missed. And I guess on the mountain there is Purifier Lake and the Spring of Wisdom. In the Hateno region, we have Redstone Forest near the lab, and a couple other forests to the west, Skinner and Midla Woods. In Hateno, be aware the school and the ranch though both are a part of side quests. Going back towards Dueling Peaks, along the way there is Fort Hateno with a quest located there, Bubingo Forest along the river, and Hickory Woods further on to the south. Between the stable and the Great Ferry there are a couple of bridges, big and little twin bridges. I know the twin was my last location in Breath of the Wild. And up towards Kakariko there is the bridge, Ring Ruins, and Lantern Lake, though a couple of those are part of side quests. And on to the southeasternmost part of the map we have Faron. The first landmark is Palmaray Ruins near Cape Callus, and I guess Soko Point with the Korok located there on the far southeastern portion on the peninsula. Inside Laurelin Village there are a few locations that open up during the game. The chest, the inn, and the restaurant are open during their Soaring Laurelin side quest, with a general store unlocked after doing a quest involving fetching a boat on an island. Further on to the south, Laurelin has its own boat course associated with the Resort Project quest, which is unlocked after doing the Terrytown race. Moving on into the jungle, a few forests and bridges are along the way. Going from east to west, we have Ibarra Forest, Floria Bridge, Sargon Woods, Sargon Bridge, Guccini Plains Barrow off the path, and lastly we have another threefer, Pagos Woods, Faron Woods, and Finra Woods off to the far west end of the forest. All three are right next to each other for some weird reason, and Faron Woods was actually my last location in the game. Moving further on to the north, we have the Bridge of Hyrule, with the lake there and a dragon, and located a little bit off to the east is the Dea Village ruins, and in the savannah there is also Pepetto Grove, entering the Gerudo region. As for Gerudo, there are quite a few located here. Starting up with the entrance, there is a Gerudo Cannon Pass with a few quests there, nothing really until you get to Gerudo Desert Gateway, entering the desert proper. Make sure to grab a sand seal next to the entrance as that is an easily missed location. Other landmarks in the desert includes the East Gerudo Ruins with a cave and quests involved there, Eastern Barrens with a lot of caves mentioned earlier on, Southern Oasis with a Southern Oasis training area that can also be missed out, Arbiter's Grounds with a shrine there, West Gerudo Ruins to the northwestern part of the desert, and the West Barrens there too, and the Northern Ice House with the quest involved there. As for Gerudo Town, make sure to rent a sand seal from each shop. The one to the south had a quest marker there, and for some reason I had progress points out of there, so be sure to get them to be safe. And I guess Desert Rift also if you didn't stumble onto it when you first entered the desert. Next up is the Highlands, which is pretty forgettable. In fact, there are only two locations to be aware of. Both are a part of a side quest. The first is the Yiga clan hideout with a quest on getting inside, and the statue of the 8th heroine to the northwest. And I guess munching in Satoral Mountains, since this patch is pretty small, there is the Dilatate Forest on the southern part of the mountain, and Rutile Lake there too, I guess. Sandalin Park Ruins is the last location here, located in the eastern part of this little peninsula strip. Next stop before Central Hyrule is the Great Plateau, which has a few, mostly the Forest of Spirits, Temple of Time, and Eastern Abbey. Now for Central Hyrule, we have a lot of bridges to cover first, so starting from the River Dead on the Great Plateau, we have Dig Dog Suspension Bridge, which does include a mini stable and a device dispenser there, Valhalla Bridge, Gleeok Bridge, though it doesn't have a Gleeok, Aquame Bridge, which there is a Gleeok near it, Sage Temple Ruins, Gedo Bridge between Satori and West Hyrule, Korok Bridge, Moat Bridge, Helmhead Bridge, Boneyard Bridge, Orsted Bridge, Ribone Bridge, Floret Sandbar, Yugis Bridge, Horwell Bridge, Owlin Bridge, and lastly Proxim Bridge before Lake Hylia. And don't forget Them's Bridge by Mount Crenel. As for ruins, the southern part has East Post, Outpost, Gate Post, and Kumalo Garrison ruins all close to each other, along with the Forest of Time. Colosseum ruins with impending doom within it, Exchange ruins with a shrine there, Ranch and Mobby Village ruins near the chasm with a couple of caves there, well, so you might already have that, Hyrule Garrison ruins further down the road, Ancient Tree Stump up on Mount Daphnes, Giant's Forest next to the Sage Temple ruins. As for Outlook Landing, there is the Crystal Refinery north of town, and south of it there is a mini stable. Heading on into Castletown, or I guess what's left of it, there are a lot of locations, town ruins, and in the middle there is the Central Square. On the west side of town we have the West Castletown Water Reservoir, and Quarry Ruins. And on the east side of town we have East Castletown, Castletown Watchtower, and the Cathedral. And I guess Appling Forest to the southeast too. Into Hyrule Castle there are a few locations. On the lower part we have the Observation Room, First Gatehouse, Guard's Chamber, West Passage, all close by. The East Passage requires you entering from a cave near the moat. On the north side of the place we have the docks with a good thing inside there, and the lockup on the west side with another fun thing in store. As for the upper part of the castle, you will end up doing a lot of the place naturally, but a couple locations you might not go to include Zelda's Study and the King's Study. Zelda's Study is on the Lone Tower while the King's is within the library. Next up is the Sky, which chances are you already have every location if you went through for all shrines and Koroks. But there is one location that might elude you, and that is the Southern Necluda Sky Archipelago. All the archipelago includes is one boss platform for a Flux Sky, and even then the arena might not trigger for you, as the location is on the southern side of the boss arena. And the last region, probably the worst region, is the Underground. It's actually not that bad. Despite it being a second Hyrule, there aren't that many locations, and a couple of simple rules apply to make things way easier. Number 1, almost every forest on the surface lies a grove underground. 2, under most mountain peaks there is a mine, and under the hot springs there is a lava falls, and yeah, using them this turns the underground from a simple into a simple fly around. So time to get started. First up, since we started with the groves, let's go roll with them since there are 15 groves in the game. First up is Delight Grove, which is under the Delight Forest, which is located south of Bloopy Hollow, or I guess the Torii Mountain. Ginner, Midla, and Redsum Groves are all by the abandoned Hateno Mine, all under Hateno Village. Bubinga Grove is located under Bubinga Forest, located between the Secluded Coliseum and Dueling Peaks Mine. Hickley Grove is across the river, except you have to go a long way around, located by Meta Lava Falls and Rosuto Canyon Mines. The Grove of Time and Grove of Spirits are located near the central mine, and I guess there's a secret spring of revival there too. Rock Grove can be found under the Rock Forest in Akala. Minchi Grove is located under Minchi Forest. You might have missed this one though. Korok Grove you would have gotten here during the main story. Pepetto Grove is located under Pepetto Woods, located south of Lake Hylia. Appling Grove is located in Central Hyrule under Appling Woods. Giants Grove is also in Central Hyrule underneath the Giants Woods. And lastly, the Tabble Grove is under Tabble Forest near Zora's Domain. Next up are the mines. Under every town there is a related abandoned mine, with the exception being Lookout Landing. Each one of these mines has a forge construct to obtain, so be sure to grab those and talk to them so you can unlock that percentage map. Another forge construct to be sure to get is the one in the Spirit Temple after clearing it. Return to the stone, and 2 new constructs will be available. One of them does have a side quest. As for the mines themselves, first up is Agate Canyon Mine and Gerudo Canyon Mine are located pretty close to each other underneath the Gerudo Highlands, underneath the related mountains. Crescia Pit Mines is located on the far southeastern corner of the Faron Underground on the peninsula. Dunzo Canyon Mine is located next to Laurelin Mine, and in the neighborhood is the Ancient Observation Deck and Tuft Canyon Mine. Nibiru Canyon Mine is located on just west southwest of the Great Central Mine, next to the Hylia Canyon Mine, and further southeast is the Flora Canyon Mine. Ruto Canyon Mine is located to the south of the abandoned Linuru Mine, while Plomius Canyon Mines is located east of Linuru. Next up is the Forfirst. Starting just northeast of the Spirit Temple is the Floria Canyon Mines, to the east is the Taran Canyon Mines, to the north of that is the Meta Canyon Mines with the Meta Lava Falls nearby, and furthermore is the Rosuto Canyon Mines. Located under the Peak of Awakening is the Canyon of Awakening near the Linero Promenade and Kakariko Mine. In West Central Hyrule, there's 2 more mines underneath. Mount Rom has Rom Canyon Mine, while Lindor Canyon Mine is underneath Mount Lindor. Returning to Eastern Hyrule is another series of encounters. East of the abandoned Hateno Mine in Redsum Grove is, starting from the south, is Walnut Canyon Mine, then to the northwest is Madorna Canyon Mine, and further to the north is the Wellspring of Wisdom, with a Bargainer statue there too, and the Lineru Canyon Mine included. Back to Hateno to the south, there is the Ebon Canyon Mine. North of Terrytown, now is a mine, is Yuri Canyon Mine, and further to the north is the Wellspring of Power and another Bargainer statue. Located near the South Domai Depths Labyrinth is another pair of mines, the Davil Canyon Mines and the Grenage Canyon Mines, located underneath the respective mountains. And the northwestern part of the map near the Cliff Bargainer statue under the Mother statue in the Forgotten Temple is the Drenal Canyon Mines, and northeast of that is the Gleok Den. In Central Hyrule, in the northwestern part of the central part is the Gustav Canyon Mine, and to the south of the Giant's Grove is the Daphnis Canyon Mines. A bit of a pain to get to, but underneath Mount Crandall is the Crandall Canyon Mine. Sadly, the closest chasm is Kakariko, so be prepared to hike, though you might already have this one since there is a shrine nearby. Southwest of the Frito village is the Kuho Canyon Mines, and within the Hebra Mountains there are a couple up here. Starting from Rito, moving northeast, we have the Corvash Canyon Mines under the mountain, and deep under the summit is the Hebra Canyon Mines. And since we're in Hebra, there are 3 lava falls in the area underneath their respective hot springs, and under the Leviathan there is the Dark Skeleton, which holds one of the parts of the Wild Armor set. Under the Swirly Peninsula in Akala is the Wrist Mine, probably gotten for the light route though. And deep under the north face of Dueling Peak is the Canyon Mine. And lastly, for the miscellaneous locations, Dark Skeletons are located north of Volcano in the Elden Underground underneath the calendar part, and as for the Gerudo Underground, there is the Dark Skeleton in the far southwestern corner of the map, and nearby is both the Desert Coliseum and the Underground Cemetery. Speaking of Coliseums, there are a few others to go over. The first one is the Floating Coliseum located below the Coliseum ruins, one in the Korok Grove in the northwestern part of Korok Forest, one under Eventide Island, and one northeast of the Fire Temple. As for Bargainer statues, the Bargainer statues are located underneath the respective goddess statues, and as for the one within the central Hyrule part, that is located beneath the Temple of Time. And the award for the most dickish location in Tears of the Kingdom goes to the Reikazu Altar. To get this very hidden location, go from this construct factory, go south up the hill until you get to the Wellspring of Courage. To the north of that there is the final Bargainer statue, and to the south, behind the waterfall, is the Reikazu Altar, with nothing of note. And I guess since they are a thing, the device dispenser is located mostly in the sky. As for locations, starting underground, we have one near the Fire Temple, and one in the left leg depot underground. As for the surface, there is one in the Terrytown construction, which is involved in a side quest, one in Kakariko Village, and one near Gerudo Canyon Pass. As for the sky, look for locations that are within a T or an awkward cross, as chances are there is one opposite of the shrine, but there are a few other locations. Starting things up, Thunderhead Isles has one near the shrine and one near the hangar that's obtained during the main quest. One on Zonite Forge Island opposite to the shrine. A couple of devices on the Great Sky Island, one underneath the Island of Awakening, another located after the Mountain Shrine, one located in the Sky Sphere in Lunaria Sky, another below the Water Temple near the Flux Construct, one located near each of the Skydive Trial Islands. There is one located beneath Lightcast Island, which is a little tricky to get to, and one within the Light Redirect Sphere above Gerudo Highlands. So I think I got every location I can think of, but there are bound to be more that I missed. If there's any other major locations I forgot, feel free to leave them down below, and if this guide helps you at all, feel free to leave down a like, and as always, see you all in the next one.